I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Friday! Welcome into Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. 3 full hours with us, taking you all the way up to Red Raider baseball. They're beginning Big 12 play with the Texas Longhorns, who have made the trek over to Lubbock. And we are live from the First United Bank studio. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, reactions, predictions for tonight, predictions for this weekend as a whole. A lot to dive into today here on Tech Talk. Take us anywhere with the mobile app. That's brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just look up Double T 97.3. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown behind the glass taking care of us. Fellas, how are our Fridays treating us?
Pretty good. Ready to go.
Great. Ready for this weekend.
Great. Yeah. Anything in particular for this weekend that you're ready for? As a whole?
Kicking some Longhorn booty.
There you go.
Is that qualify?
Yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
It qualifies,
like
yeah.
that. Yep.
This is a loaded sports weekend if you count also softball going on. They'll get started here in about an hour. Game one against BYU, so you have that. You have track and field championships going that kicked off last night. Your weight thrower Metchler, I think, finished 10th and was like a spot out of moving into the next one, so that's rough for him. But he does end up as a second-team All-American, so congratulations to him. But
And it's funny, those type conversations are where it's good to hear from Coach Kitley to know, yeah, we really thought we were going to get 4 points there, or didn't think he was going to, however it is, because he's over there doing the math, and he'll when you hear him talk about these meets and be like, hey, the only way, or I won't say the only way, but the thing we've got to have is these three guys do this, or this one score there, or whatever. We need one of these two to win. So,
Sure.
and it's really interesting math. And so I'm sitting here hearing, well, I don't think he got points with that result there. But what I don't know is, would Coach Kitley? I'm sure he'd take them. Don't get me wrong, but I was saying, like, does Coach Kitley think there's a path to winning a national championship without getting points out of the thrower?
Yeah,
or
was he
like
counting on that,
Yeah,
or was he kind of would he have been a cherry on top?
You got it.
Sort of point
exactly.
situation.
That's where I'm going with that.
And the big ones for you, I think, happen here in about 10 minutes, because the 60-meter prelims, which you have a heavy dose of runners in that, 5 of the 16 in the nation there in Boston are represented by Red Raiders. So a large amount of points certainly up for grabs in that one. And I would venture to guess for the men's side, that has to be like, you're doing what you're talking about, like guessing where your points are going to come from and who you're expecting. I mean, I don't know in total how much he is expecting from that, but that has to be the conversation leader, especially when you have Terrence Jones, who has the nation's best mark in the 60-meter. And, I wonder if that's you go back to the Big 12 championship and, he scratches, right?
Right.
And there was a big anyone that is a big track and field fan, I saw this question a lot. And to be honest, I didn't know the answer to this if Wes Kitley hadn't said this. But like, so did our best sprinter, although you won the Big 12 meet, is he not going to the national championship? And he had locked that up in like,
right. He had
the second event or the second meet. So maybe that's I'm sure he wouldn't think this, but maybe a little bit of a good thing because you get an extra one in there or something like that maybe wouldn't have, because you're also self-competing there. So I don't know what that situation is, but I do know that here in about 10 minutes you got a big prelim going further. And then the women's will start at 6 tonight over there in Boston.
And you'll hear those guys, you'll hear those coaches talk about, Coach Kitley, I think, uses that phrase, we need to fill some lanes. And today is when they get all those dudes into the finals. And in the perfect world, we not only win it, but we go, first, second, fourth, fifth, or whatever, and rack a bunch of points. But it's so critical. The pathway to winning that thing or finishing well or whatever as a team is laid in these early hours here, where you're just trying to fill lanes, make sure all your people that you take there are scoring.
I wonder if this is a situation where, like, when you do get to the actual like point counting after prelims and stuff like that, if you jump out to a big lead, right? Like, let's say you perform really well with those that are up first and something like that, where you have multiple runners and multiple athletes in it. If you get out to a big lead, then if it's like, okay, everybody else, keep everyone else at bay. Just like what do you need? Or is there a big lead? Or the opposite of that, if you don't get what's out of it, I wonder if then all of a sudden you're starting to count points the other way, and is there enough there to catch up? I'm very curious about how this weekend shakes out, and would love to know, like, Wes Kitley's math of, like you said, where he expects points to be, and where if you don't get those points, where you're nervous on other spots.
Sure. And I think what you just described is if they really don't need the points or whatever, they can go qualify a relay team without running their best dudes. Is where they'll sort of play the game that you're talking about. Maybe qualifying for the finals in a relay without running their best dudes, who might also be running in the 60 or whatever. But I wouldn't even begin to speak about that with any level of authority there. It's just something I've heard them talk about at times.
What event would you be running there in the indoor?
Oh, my God, dude. I did notice this. You and I watched BYU at West Virginia yesterday, baseball.
Yeah.
We also watched BYU and Texas Tech softball. BYU and West Virginia playing 2 today, so their whole series will be done here shortly, because obviously it was on the books for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They must have weather in the Northeast tomorrow, and so they're getting their 3 in yesterday and today. So here we go.
Welcome into Big 12 baseball.
Yep. Now this time of year, especially this early in March, it's going to happen.
You'll be getting into some of that yourself starting at 6 o'clock here in Double T 97.3. We have a request on the chat line from Lucas that we will effort. We'll also get you some headlines here on the other side. You got Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, Double T 97.3.com. It is The Juice.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown, you've got Tech Talk. And as we keep you updated with the indoor track and field championships, 60-meter prelims were just ran. Trace from the 5 Red Raiders advance.
Yeah, and
looking
again,
for points.
What we don't know is, if Coach Kitley's got a little private list over there that he's looking at, like, this is what we really need here. We need a win here. We need 3 scoring, or whatever, to win a national championship, and he would know that math.
Hopefully he was saying, all right, we need 3.
We need 3.
We need 3.
Yeah, because and we had the best time too. The Terrence Jones, right? Wasn't it Terrence Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the best time. And so, hopefully they're in the position they need to be. It's just good to even be talking about them in terms of not only just the individuals winning national championships, but the idea of what might it take for them to win the whole thing. And we didn't. Yeah, so we'll see.
We're about to get into some Texas Tech versus Texas talk. But I feel like we need to do something to get in the right mindset for it. Kyler, would you please help us out?
There's Wilson trying to steal home. He slides across. He is safe. The Red Raiders win it on a walk-off steal of home. Kurt Wilson took off from third. Nick Wilson never saw him.
Wow.
Never threw the ball to the plate. The Red Raiders win it 5-4 as Kurt Wilson wins it on the steal of home. What a way to end this game. It is a great day to be a Red Raider.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. But I tell you what, if you keep looking down long enough, people end up at home.
You know,
Gus?
that dude was the little backstory to that. That dude was trying to pitch out of a hole that he had dug himself in, and he had 2 strikes on Dylan Carter, and so there was 2 strikes and 2 outs. And if I remember correctly, I can't remember who was on in front of him, who was up in front of him, but he had a runner on third and less than 2 outs and didn't get contact there, as I recall. Obviously didn't drive the run in, and then it was a quick 2 strikes. And so that dude was settling. That closer was settling in and getting comfortable, and he did have that long setup, and they had noticed it on film. And it was sort of a desperation play because it looked like, hey, one more pitch and this inning's over. And you know, the thing got relayed to Kurt in a way to say, hey, he gets set because he wasn't even in the windup. I'll give you audio from 2014 if you want to go. We'll go audio from 2014. Tech losing 2-1.
Let's do it. Let's just keep
Sunday.
the party rolling. Come back to it.
All the steals of home, but
it's funny to say steals of home.
Yeah, it really is. And this was when Coach Tadlock was. It's your Yahoo, right, Kyler? Yahoo email, yeah.
You didn't do the email signal to him.
Yeah, that's right. The flail.
Kyler, email. You have to say Kyle first before you say Kyler. That's the key because he goes, "That's not my name," and then you have his attention.
2-1 ball game, and the guy that was pitching for Texas ended up pitching in the big leagues and down 2-1. And same thing, 2 outs in the ninth, and I think he got down at 2 strikes. I think he had Proudfoot down in the 2-strike hole, and Zach Davis just stole it, and Zach stole it a little bit differently because the cat was in a big windup, and he just took it, you know. And Zach D could fly. I mean, fly. It was 80 speed in baseball, in the parlance of baseball, and he so yeah, we can enjoy that one too. And that one's off the TV call, but yeah, you see the windup, and Zach Davis just an insane stretch. And you know, once the pitcher's kind of working through his motion, if he speeds it up a whole lot, it gets into being a balk. And you know, what Tim has succeeded in doing is using the steal of home for sure. And there's been 2 or 3 times where it hasn't worked, but he's succeeded in using and creating this as a weapon. And so when teams play the Red Raiders now, there's practice time devoted to, now listen, when you're doing this, you know, these guys will do this. Remember in 2018, the Sooners are here. Friday night game gets moved to the afternoon because of third storms. There's kind of a weird deal, and tie game in the ninth, and Josh Young over at third, bottom of the ninth, and he does the fake steal of home, and he takes off, and you could tell that OU had been coached up, and they had a freshman on the mound. The guy ended up being a first-round pick 2 years later, and he speeds his deal up and balks. And so we call that the balk-off win but it was all about the threat of the steal of home. And so Tim has used it twice in huge spots, and then had those successful attempts. And even you could even say maybe the 1 or 2 times it didn't work, set up the third time. And, you know, just huge moments in games and very different types of steals, one with a big windup, one with a guy setting up and stretching and not looking, Kurt, 2 years ago. I mean, just but, you know, the steal of home was not a weapon. You know, it's not a coach thing, and Coach Tadlock has created it as a weapon. Or not, I wouldn't say created it, but he's brought it back as a weapon.
So you put yourself in these shoes. You're a pitcher, okay? And you're either, you know, quote unquote, responsible for a walk-off steal of home or a balk-off. What feels worse?
Probably the balk-off.
I think so too.
Yeah, because it's just a you know, just a brutal mistake. In terms of, you know, just
because one like, what's the depiction? And it's accurate. Not paying attention, getting lost in the moment, however you want to say it. And then the other one just seems like you got rattled.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. Yes. You get rattled and just sort of do what you're not really wanting to do in terms of botching it. It's funny that Kurt's steal of home 2 years ago was John Boy did like a 5-minute breakdown. John Boy, like the trash can banger guy, who now does a lot of these different things where there's an argument, he'll go in and get the backstory and settle. John Boy did an episode on that steal of home. And he didn't spend a whole lot of time on college stuff. But
I told you this. It was day of Texas basketball game. And just like that was such a cool moment, but even just like random pages popping up, like pages that have no affiliation with Texas Tech, just like,
yeah, sure.
and they do the thing. They don't explain what it is. Right? They don't give you a breakdown of the game. They don't even tell you what the teams are. You just watch and look at some of these clips and like, can't believe the pitcher fell asleep. And it's that play.
Yeah. And the other thing you had with Dylan Carter at the plate, you had them shifted and playing him to the pull side, and so the third baseman had drifted away from third in a way that Kurt's able to get more of a lead than there was a lot of perfect storm type things, but the most egregious part of it, the guy was going from the stretch, but just the setup with no eye contact, But all that stuff, you hope, is something that stays in the back of somebody's mind and creates a little doubt, and
plant the seed.
Yeah, 100%, dude. It creates a threat, and somebody's spending some time in practice talking about that, and instead of doing something else. And so, yeah, you're planting seeds, no doubt.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, planting seeds of our own kind every single day. Gardeners is what we are. When we come back, it's time to hit up the time machine, back in time here on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Friday. It is Tech Talk. You got us on Double T 97.3, DoubleT973.com. Thank you for hanging out with us. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Kyler Brown behind the glass. We are live from the First United Bank studio. 2 more hours with us as we make our way up to Red Raider baseball conference opener against who else but the Texas Longhorns. I've grown more and more and love that you start Big 12 play with Texas, because on one hand, I love that it's here and it's against a great opponent. The other side of it, Gus, is that you do get the final series with Texas conversation as Big 12 opponents. Sure. You get that Band-Aid ripped off early, but it's also a great matchup. You can hear it right here on Double T 97.3 starting as soon as we're done. Call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. Kyler will run down a list of songs that either slap or are straight buns. He's got like 100 tracks back there on a piece of paper. He's dying to read you them. Call him on the Visual Edge IT hotline, or keep hitting us up on the H4 Center chat line. We'll catch up on some of that in just a moment. Take us anywhere with the mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. Gus, we have some great, fantastic baseball news.
Yes, indeed. And Tech Baseball just tweeted this, and it's kind of a statement on the condition of Brady Trombello. Texas Tech Athletics is pleased to share that Brady Trombello was released from UMC this week after suffering a head injury nearly 2 weeks ago from a batted ball. Of course, that took place in an inter-squad. Brady has been transferred to a local rehab facility where he's expected to make a full recovery. Texas Tech Athletics would like to thank its sports medicine staff, the coaching staff, paramedics, doctors, and nurses who all aided in providing emergency assistance in the moments following Brady's injury, as well as his recovery from surgery. While his recovery continues, Brady has remained positive and is actively walking and talking with his friends and family. In the immediate aftermath of his injury, Texas Tech arranged transportation for Brady's parents to be by his side from their home state of Washington. Since his injury, Brady has received countless visits from his teammates as well as Coach Tadlock and his staff. Even though he will not take the mound for the Red Raiders again this season, Brady will remain an active member of our baseball program and part of the success of this team. He has the full support of this baseball program and our entire athletics department as he continues his recovery.
And that's as good of news as you could ask from in a horrifying situation.
Yep,
so
no doubt.
That's really terrific to hear.
You bet, no doubt about that. And if hopefully, if he wants to pitch again, that opportunity will be available on down the line. Sounds like he's not returning to the mound. I mean, that's in the statement. Won't be returning to the mound this spring for the Red Raiders, but just great news all the way around, and hoping for the best. I mean, his first outing was really encouraging. He threw 4 scoreless against UTA, and I assume was set up. And
he was kind of in some regards, the surprise start for that when we're going, hey, who is this guy?
Yeah. And then he goes out and throws 4 scoreless and just kind of zip right through all that, and really nice tempo. I kind of compared him to a young Hunter Dobbins just in terms of the 3-pitch mix and throwing a lot of strikes and all. And Dobbins ended up being, now he didn't actually get to do this because of injury, but he ended up being the 2021 Friday night guy. And so I don't know if I'm writing a check that Brady Trombello can't cash, especially in light of this injury. We'll see. But I would just tell you that there was I thought there was a lot of promise in that outing. So that's not just some dude that you've never heard of that plays on the baseball team. I think there's some things to be encouraged by there. But all in all, a tremendous statement today and tremendous news.
Yes. Here's a question off the chat line. What time do the gates open for baseball?
I think my assumption would be that is 5 o'clock. I feel like when I get there early, I feel like those gates are open an hour and a half before game time. But I sure would hope that you go check TexasTech.com or before you take my word for it. But, yep, put on some clothes.
Yeah, I was gonna say tonight's not the game you really want to be. You want to be there at the stadium.
Right.
You want to be there. It's gonna be packed. It's gonna be full, but it's not exactly the game you want to be waiting outside of the stadium to get into.
I agree. And part of the thing that when that place fills up, a lot of the folks that are sitting in GAs get there early to make sure they can get a GA, whatever it is that they want them, right side, left side, closer to home, farther from home, whatever, but high, low, whatever. So that's one thing that happens when these good Big 12 game crowds get here.
This from Shelley, my Kurt Wilson signed ball is one of my proudest possessions.
Nice.
Lucas said, just shed a tear in the car listening to that clip. Thanks, gents. Hang on till play of the day here in about 10 minutes. Kyler might blow your mind. I had poor grammar. Just run, Clint, not ran. 4th grade grammar teachers are going nuts. My apologies to the 4th grade teachers. This on the chat line, I bet that pitcher felt like a very small person. To the pitcher that Kurt stole home.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, it had to be. It really had to be agonizing because some guys are really deliberate in their setup, and he was deliberate, but the eyes down thing, didn't serve him well there. And he had been really good. He had thrown well the year before in Omaha for them, and then had been really good coming into that series. And that stolen base happened, and then he was part of the game the next day and didn't fare well. And you go look at the turning point of his 2022 season. You go look at his game by game. It kind of fell apart for him. And you never know what caused.
Boy, that
what.
is a real devastating loss.
Yeah, you never know what caused what in terms of was he just about to be revealed or what? Who knows? But and then he ended up transferring out, and I mean it ended up being kind of a tough deal there.
This from Tyler. Kurt Wilson. Also, the next day when Wilson hit that walk-off grand slam was a pretty great call as well. Hey, I'm not going to make any, guesses or say anything solid. I don't really know where he's going, but Kyler's play of the day. Gus, when we come back on Tech Talk. You've got us on Double T97.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It's a Friday edition of Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and DoubleT97.3.com. It's also Optimum Game Day Live as we lead you up to Red Raider baseball against Texas tonight, start of a 3-game series. Beginning Big 12 play. You'll also have Red Raider basketball at home tomorrow against Baylor. And it is senior day for the Red Raiders. We know for sure you have super seniors Joe Toussaint and Warren Washington, who you'll see for the last time at the USA. And it's going to be, I think, just a heck of a ball game. If the offenses hold up the way they have, I mean, the question is who defensively can hold down the other one. But if you're shooting the ball like you have the past couple of games, and offensively, if they're playing as well and efficiently as they have the past 3 games, you could be in for the highest scoring combined game this weekend in the Big 12. We'll see what happens. Both teams are allowed to play good defense, though, too, and they're capable of it. But the offenses, I think, are your leading story tomorrow.
Did you settle your little wagers? You get a point spread on
I
this?
still haven't got the point spread yet. No, I haven't.
Stop.
I haven't looked.
Seriously?
Yeah, I'm telling you, they college basketball, it takes them a little bit for those spreads. It's not like our NFL where we have it like
Now.
Yeah. Week 17, we have the spread for Chiefs and the Bills.
Feels like they'd let you bet on it if you really, yeah.
Like I said, I haven't looked in an hour.
We're
so
getting some.
again.
We're getting some baseball reschedules around the Big 12. Talked about BYU and West Virginia. They're finishing their series right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting all 3 of them in a doubleheader today. Must have weather coming tomorrow. Both Oklahoma schools have scratched their games tonight, and they will play tomorrow. OU, let's see, OU hosting UCF in a doubleheader.
I could remember Oklahoma State was playing Mercer. I could not remember the Big 12 series, the more important one. With Oklahoma.
They're playing they're the one playing out of conference this week, and so it's kind of interesting. The 2 Kansas schools are going, but the 2 Oklahoma schools are not. Not I just don't know enough
it's
about
stronger will,
Well,
Gus.
you may
mentally
be right.
tougher. The state above.
I don't know where it's dry versus where it's wet or whatever, but
I don't either. I couldn't even tell you the one.
There could just be some truth to, hey, it's going to be, if it sometimes the math is as simple as, hey, it's not like it's going to get a whole lot better tomorrow or the next day or whatever. The good news is for us tonight, this game's going to be cold tonight, but tomorrow the high in the low 50s, maybe a little sunshine in there, and then Sunday, it's even a little bit nicer than that, a little more sunshine. Of course, they're day games as well. So this, there you have it.
I was watching a video earlier on the Twitterverse, the Xverse, if you will. It reminded me of home. It's this team out there, classic, starting the game with some catch out there. I couldn't tell how young they were, but they were not very good. And you have the giant tornado forming in the background.
And they were just cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, not affected at all.
I mean, it was way off. Yeah, it was way off in the distance, but still, they weren't fazed
enough
by it.
To see that it was a tornado forming and coming down.
Absolutely.
It's like, man, I missed it again. Just better throw it. Throw it back.
A tornado.
Yeah, look at that. Right over there. All right, Kyler, please hit us up with your play of the day.
And the pitch. Hit up in the air to deep right field. That ball's carrying. That ball's at the wall. Adios, muchacho! Adios, Texas! Red Raiders, walk them all! Walk them all! Walk them all!
Are you kidding me? Unbelievable! Did this really just happen?
Kurt Wilson! You magical son of a gun!
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable.
It's one of the best college baseball games that's ever been played. 16-12. Red Raiders win.
If that call doesn't get you ready for this weekend, I don't know what will.
Has there ever been, because, I mean, you have moments, right? I mean, you can go like Keenan Evans style. You have single game moments where that dude coming back on campus, or, if it's a home game like this, is the man, right? But he's got a full weekend of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in
Kurt,
right
Kurt
on
I
top
think,
of
though,
it.
is
I want to feel a tenth of what he felt.
I think
from
he's
that
teaching
series.
and coaching, and so he might not be able to get here till Sunday. But, yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, it really would.
I mean, the closest I get to is that I have the most marks on the board for throwing stuff in a trash can in here. Not anywhere close. No one has called me a magical son of a gun yet. Good job, Kyler. Thank you. We have another call, actually, from you sent, speaking of stealing a home, from 2014.
Zach Davis.
Go ahead and double up. Oh, maybe. Oh, we got the hold on.
All right.
Got the hold on hand.
Yeah, and keep in mind that one was 10 years prior to, or 8 years, I guess, prior to Kurt, 10 years ago. And
I'd take another walk-off steal this series.
Guts of a cat burglar. Yeah, I would too, no doubt.
We got this on the Yates Flooring Center chat line from Gary. My favorite play in baseball is the theft of home plate, but nothing better than that when it's a walk-off against the Horns. Shelley also said, great update on Trombello. Awesome, good news. Agreed. Gus, is there some obstruction issue when the catcher stood up and stepped forward?
Yeah, it can be, and that's I'm actually in the process of answering that online, but it can be, you can get an obstruction if there's contact. If the catcher were to stand up and bump into the hitter or something like that, you can certainly get that. Something along those lines. But I've always wondered about this too, like because they talk about this with football coaches going, hey, football coaches meeting with referees before the game and saying, hey, we may run a trick play where we line this guy up here, and we do that. We're just going to give you a heads up. So, his job is to cover this guy or not uncover that guy. Kind of this guy's going to be a tackle eligible deal. This is how we're setting it up. Just want you to be caught off guard by it. And Chris will talk about that, like that's kind of a preparation thing. They're not here to ruin the secrets, but they don't want to accidentally throw a flag and be misled by what they're seeing. I've often wondered if there would be value in going to the umpires ahead of the series saying, well, listen, we may steal home at some point along the way, make sure that catcher stays back there. Because it can be, beyond the obstruction thing that's obvious, you can get a catcher's balk. Those two white lines that are back there, used to see it more on intentional walks where they would have to throw the pitches and the catcher would step up if he stepped outside of that line too early. You can get a catcher's balk, and it's kind of a similar effect to the normal pitcher's balk. But if hey, the runner, and the catcher slides up there and steps up there on top of the plate like he's taking a tag, but it's a pitch that he's receiving. In other words, the pitcher hasn't stepped off the rubber to throw home, but rather he's throwing an actual pitch. If that catcher just steps up there and covers home, catcher's balk, you get the base. And so it would be something that, and especially if I was coaching, in a high school situation or something maybe, but I think I might even do it anyway. Hey, let those umps know, hey, we may do this. Keep in mind that catcher's got to stay back so the ump didn't get caught off guard by it.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and DoubleT97.3.com. We'll keep rolling on the other side. I've got a couple baseball questions for Gus in this series against Texas. Curious his thoughts on it. Curious about your thoughts as well. You can hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line like this thought. Tech got 3 men in the 60 meters for tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
That is true.
And what did we see, a 400 meter? Isn't that right? Or an 400 meter as well? Yeah.
So good start so far.
You bet.
There for the indoor championships on the men's side. Women will get going at about 6 o'clock tonight and see how they can fare as well. Good time to be a Red Raider indoor track and fielder. Tech Talker and Double T 97.3. Back with more next.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Friday. It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, doublet973.com. One more hour with us. Thank you for joining us. We are live from the First United Bank studio. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions. If you want to give us predictions for the baseball series, predictions for basketball against Baylor, we'll take that all there on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, whatever you got. Also, get your questions in for Ask Tech Talk. That'll be in 45 minutes from now. You can take us anywhere with the mobile app that's brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. Clint Scott, Kyler Brown, we're in our same seating arrangements, if you will. Now welcoming in the one, the only, Chois Woodman. Chois, how are you?
What is good, yo?
So much is good. We got this on the H Flooring Center chat line from Tyler. Clint, how much did Hacks pay you to concuss Choice? You're fine.
I gotta say, I'm not sure I didn't have a minor one. Like, when I got home, the light was really bothering me. There's some definite light sensitivity there. And, I mean, the initial shot
hurt my elbow. I was very upset with you.
I was definitely seeing stars for a moment. But
you know, like old school dentistry, like how they would have like the donkey kick the jaw to get a tooth out sort of joke. I assume the tooth imprint on my elbow was how they used to do like snapshots to see if they needed old school braces and like tied twigs to it and stuff. Like, whack! All right, what does it look like on my elbow? Like, yeah. Sorry, man. 4 years of braces.
Dang.
Yeah. You all good, though?
I think your elbow's okay.
How many am I over here?
My tooth hurts. That's what's still residual.
I felt very bad. If you don't know what we're joking about, we played some pickup basketball last night.
Last time you get invited.
And you were the one who got underneath me when I went up in the elbow connected.
I really should have just
with the jaw.
I should have gone.
I felt very bad. I still feel bad about it.
Should have gone Karate Kid there. Just swept the leg. That's what would have avoided the whole situation.
Always roll the ankle. Put your foot underneath.
Yeah.
This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. From Shelly, there's a custom wrestling move, the elbow X-ray. There you go. Dibs.
Seems legit.
You got a baseball series. It's about to start here in about an hour and a half.
That is true.
How you feeling about your matchup with the Longhorns?
Semi-nervous, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know why I don't have just a great feeling about it. Probably because they've lost 4 in a row coming in. Now, baseball is a sport where momentum is such a big thing. Seems like a hot team can go even if they're not a good team. Mm-hmm. We've seen hot teams roll through good teams, and we see that in the MLB postseason too, over and over. But Texas is the opposite right now, and I'm afraid they may wake up after losing 4 in a row. They've lost to good teams, and quite frankly, I guess where some of my nerves come from is the fact that Tech hasn't played really a good team since week 1 of the season. So,
So I was going to ask because
my expectations is that you still win 2 out of 3 this weekend. That's the expectation because you are a good baseball team, and you got to protect home field if you're going to be a Big 12 title contender. So I expect you to win 2 out of 3. I said it, I don't know, whenever last time we were on together. I wouldn't be shocked by many results this weekend.
I was going to ask because you kind of alluded to something that I think some nerves can come from a fan's perspective and an expectation standpoint. It is almost the unknown from both teams because neither squad have it, figured out even close to hopefully for the Red Raiders what it will be when you get closer to the finish line. Neither team is a finished product, but both sides are talented, and so who's going to be I guess, quote unquote, closer to their ceiling this weekend in an incredibly important series to start things off in the Big 12 race. Now, losing or winning this series does not lose or win the Big 12 title for you, but for a Red Raider team that has aspirations of that, this is against a team you expect to be competing with through the entire Big 12 season. So getting an early leg up on them and on other teams that are also competing that may lose to Texas or vice versa is incredibly important. But like the unknown side of it, I think is where some of my nerves might come from. Yeah, because I mean, what is this Texas team right now? And then what are you?
I mean, Texas was looked at by a lot of people as a top 10 team coming into the country. Top 15, pretty well consensus. Tech was top 25 pretty well across the board. But we haven't learned a ton, and I just hate that this game is this series is what you get to jump 2 feet first into the Big 12 play with, because I would much rather open up against the Kansas Jayhawks or someone along those
Baylor,
lines. Definitely Baylor would be easing your way into it. So
really any of the newbies.
There's a lot of opportunity, but you get to start with the Longhorns early, and that could be a good thing where you're catching them where they are in a lull.
Because I think I would rather, without knowing what ultimately they'll end up being, as of now, I would for 2 cases, I would much rather play them early in the season than later in the season. But the other side is, we've seen this discussion a little bit. You've had several questions on the chat line, and I think every show for a little bit has addressed it, and Gus and I have too. But they are on a losing streak. Is it better to see him then, or is it better to see an overconfident, red-hot Texas team? 10 out of 10 for me. Give me the team on a losing streak. I mean,
sure. In baseball, I don't want a hot team.
No, I don't want the buzzsaw. I don't want the...
But I kind of wish they would have got their one against A&M or something earlier this week just to get right before they're super angry coming to Lubbock. That being said, it comes down to playing good baseball this weekend. And starting pitching is going to be massive for the Red Raiders. It's going to be good for Texas, but it's going to be massive for the Red Raiders. You've got to get good starting pitching efforts at least the first 2 days.
It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Back with more next.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at Double T 97.3.com.